بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمد والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما عمل ابن آدم من عمل يوم النحر أحب إلى الله من إهراق الدم. Alhamdulillah, my respected listener, it is from the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are now finally in the blessed month of the Hajj. And we are going through the blessed days, the first 10 days of the Hajj that are most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the most blessed throughout the entire year. As we have mentioned previously, that when it comes to an entire month with blessed nights, that's Ramadan. But when it comes to the blessed days, these are the blessed days of the Hajj that we are going through now. And it is a time where we can increase in our a'mal, either it be sadaqah, fasting, or charity, or dhikr, the recitation of Quran, dua, salat, whatever it may be. So these are the days we are going through. Yet at the same time, we do realize and understand that we are going through a lockdown, and due to which we cannot congregate, we cannot go to our masajid. But alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with a deen, with a religion that can accommodate to these situations. So even though we may not be going to our masajid, yet there are certain things that we can do, and inshallah within a matter of days, inshallah next week will be also Eid, will be the 10th of the Hajj, will be the day of Eid. So I'll like to take a few minutes out to highlight what we need to do up until that moment and what we will do inshallah in Eid despite not being able to congregate. So the first and foremost is before the day of Eid, the 9th of the Hajj. The 9th of the Hajj till the 13th of the Hajj. These are the days of Takbir, the Takbir of Tashriq. So from the Fajr of the 9th of the Hajj, which will be the 20th of July, till Saturday Asr, which will be the 13th of the Hajj. These 5 days are for takbir, and this takbir must be recited by men and women once allowed after every fard salah. Even if that salat is performed individually, you still recite the takbir once after every fard salah. So from the Tuesday, the 9th of the Hajj, from Fajr until the Asr of Saturday, which will be the 13th of the Hajj, these 5 days. That's one thing that we need to keep in mind. Secondly, on the 9th of the Hajj, like I said, throughout the first Ashara of the Hajj, we should be fasting every single day if we can. If we cannot, then at least we fast on the 9th of the Hajj, because and this is the day before Eid. Fasting on the 9th of the Hajj, as the Prophet ﷺ mentions in the hadith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives 2 years worth of sins, a year prior to the day you have fasted and a year to come after the day you have fasted. So make sure to, at least if you have not fasted or cannot fast these days, at least you fast the day before Eid, which is the 9th of the Hajj. Now, when it comes to the day of Eid, yes, it's the day of Eid even if we cannot go to the masajid. Even if we were unable to perform the Eid Salah, it is still the day of Eid. It is not by choice that we are not performing Eid Salah, or it is by the restrictions that we are that are around us, and due to which we are unable to go and perform our Eid Salah. Otherwise, if it was up to us, of course we would pray our Eid Salah. So even if we are not attending the masajid, it is still a day of Eid, and all the other sunnah of Eid should be performed, which is obviously to take ghusl, to wear the best of your clothes, to perfume yourself, and all the other celebrations of Eid, all the sunnah of Eid that takes place on the day of Eid, we will do. Now, when it comes to the actual Eid Salah, for those of us that within our confined areas, within the areas that we are restricted to, if we are able to perform our Eid Salah, we do meet the criteria and we can perform our Eid Salah, then by all means we can. But if we cannot perform our Eid Salah, then even then there is no there's no sin, there's nothing that that devalues Eid, because again, like I said, it is a restriction upon us. It is not by choice that we are not performing Eid Salah. And when it comes to the criteria of performing the actual Salah, obviously it's 2 rakats of Salah, so someone that is capable to lead the 2 rakats of Salah. And secondly, there will be a khutbah, so anyone that can lead the Salah and also perform the khutbah, recite the khutbah after the Salah. As long as someone is capable of doing that, they can lead. And then secondly, the other criteria is that along with the Imam, there should be 3 males that are mature, yani baligh. So in total 4. If within your confined areas, without breaking any laws, any rules, if you can accommodate for that, then you can go ahead and perform Eid Salat. More detail in terms of Eid Salat, how it should be performed in the khutbah, inshallah, will be uploaded to the mosque Facebook page very close to the Eid day, so that we can follow up and we can look through them and perform our Eid Salat. Now, for those individuals that do not meet the criteria, they are unable to do so, obviously they are not leaving their homes or confined areas, then for them, again, there is no harm, there is no sin, there is nothing that is upon them because they have not performed Eid Salat. And as a matter of fact, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu mentions that a person that is unable to or has not performed Eid Salat on the day of Eid, then what they can do is perform Salatul Duha, which we also know as Jasht. So Salatul Duha, 2 rakats, 4 rakats of Salatul Duha to be performed on that day. So if you are one of those individuals, if you are in a household where you cannot perform Eid Salat, if you're in an area where you cannot perform Eid Salat, then on the day of Eid, fulfill all the other sunnah of Eid, and then instead of Eid Salat, perform your 4 rakats of Salatul Duha on that day. And inshallah, the rest is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us accordingly, because He knows the situation that we are in. And the last thing that I wanted to highlight is also very important, and that is with our sacrificial animal, the animal that we have maybe already purchased. I'm talking about locally in Australia, where the restrictions are. If we are one of those individuals that has purchased an animal for qurbani, for sacrificing on the day of Eid or during the days of Eid, now due to the restrictions, you may not be able to have that animal sacrificed. Nobody has access to the farms or whatever it may be. Maybe the animal cannot be sacrificed on the day of Eid or the days after Eid. So for that reason, there is still time now, as we speak, at the time of recording this, there is still time where there are certain organizations. I'll just mention a few as an example, but you can do your research online. But there's a few, for instance, Muslim Aid Australia or MATW or Al Ihsan Foundation. These organizations are still taking payments to perform qurbani on your behalf in countries where there is need. In countries where there is a need, they are still taking payments, they are still accepting payments and purchases of shares or entire animals of qurbani in countries of need. So even if you have already bought an animal, but you think that the animal may not be sacrificed on the day of Eid or the 2 days after Eid because of the restrictions, then let that animal be. Don't worry about that animal for now. Buy a share or purchase an animal through these organizations or any organization that you trust that can fulfill your qurbani elsewhere. Now, when it comes to the animal that you had already purchased locally, if your qurbani was performed, your wajib qurbani was performed elsewhere, then this animal that you have, when you have access to it, you can do whatever you want because your qurbani was already performed using a different animal. However, the second scenario is that you purchased an animal and you were hoping that you will sacrifice this very animal and you did not organize for any other animal anywhere else. And the days of Eid passed. And now after the restrictions, obviously well after the days of Eid, now you have access to the animal. Now you can no longer sacrifice that animal for qurbani because the days of Eid are over. The animal can only be sacrificed with the intention of qurbani, udhiyah, during the days of Eid. So eventually when you have access to the animal and you did not have your udhiyah performed during the days of Eid, now this animal has to be given in sadaqah. That animal, the one that you had purchased for qurbani, has to be now given in sadaqah, or its value has to be given in sadaqah. So if you wish to give that entire animal in sadaqah, either alive or slaughtered, or let's say the animal was worth $1,000, then and you want to keep the animal, then you can keep the animal, or you can have it for personal consumption, but then you will have to give sadaqah of $1,000, whatever the value of the animal was. So keep that in mind. You have two scenarios, and obviously in the second scenario you will be missing out on fulfilling a wajib, which is also problematic. So that's why it is better that if you have your animal locally and you think there's higher chance that there will be no access to have that animal sacrificed during the days of Eid, now is the time to make arrangements through these trusted organizations or any organization that you trust to have your qurbani performed elsewhere. And inshallah, the animal that you have locally, you can have access to it later and you can use it for whatever you want. So these are just a few things, and like I said, inshallah, just before Eid we will post articles regarding the khutbah of Eid and how Eid Salah should be performed, and you can access those from the mosque Facebook page, and you can use them to benefit yourselves during the time of Eid. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.